Hey Canucks fans, welcome to Clay's Canucks commentary for Wednesday, July the 17th. I'm Clay Emo, I'm at Canuck Clay on Twitter, I'm at Clay Emo on Instagram, I'm the founder of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club, and this is my Canucks take, all in one take. Today I want to talk about the expansion Seattle franchise, or the Seattle expansion franchise, whatever you want to call them. It's the Seattle NHL team that's going to come into the league for the 2021-2022 season. That means their expansion draft will be held in June of 2021. And I want to talk about the Seattle franchise for many reasons. Number one, it looks like they're very close to announcing formally, or they announced formally, I should say, earlier today, that Ron Francis, the former GM of the Carolina Hurricanes for 5 years, 2014 to 2018, legendary NHL player, he will become the first general manager in the Seattle franchise history. So that's exciting news. He's not the first staff member. They've hired some people in the hockey operations already, but Ron Francis is certainly the biggest name so far. Also, we've been hearing a bit about Seattle because as the Canucks and other teams, but especially the Canucks, sign players or trade for players and then negotiate new contracts, we're starting to hear a little bit now about no movement clauses or movement clauses or limited no trade, no movement, whatever it may be. We heard about it, Alex Edler. We heard about it for Tyler Myers. And we hear about it because, in essence, it becomes a factor when you're negotiating these new contracts, i.e., you can have no movement for the first 2 years, but we do not require to protect you for the Seattle expansion draft in 2021. Basically, it's a notice to the player that there's a chance, I don't know how big of a chance, but there's a chance that they may get picked up by Seattle, and the Vancouver Canucks will not have to use one of their spots on them. And we know that was part of the Myers deal, and we know that was part of the Alex Edler deal. So that's why also Seattle's being top of mind. So then I thought about this earlier this morning. I heard a couple of the radio stations talking about it. Basically this: when Seattle gets their team, I put a poll up on Twitter. I said, how are you as a Canucks fan going to feel about that? Are you going to actively root for them as a new team and a local, almost a local team, the second most local team now? It will be the closest team to us, right, aside from Vancouver. So four choices. Are you going to actively root for them? Are you going to casually root for them? Are you going to cheer against them, or do you not care? Got some really good feedback on Twitter already, and most of you either going to root against them or don't care. It was only 8% of you said you're going to actively cheer for them. Another 24% of you said you will casually cheer for them. So 8 plus 24, that means only 32% are going to cheer for them. Then it was 42% saying I'm going to actively cheer against them, and then the remaining 26% saying I don't care. Now that 26% might come down as we get closer, right? We're still 2 years away. So there's not a lot to know about the Seattle franchise right now. But it's very telling that only 32% of Canucks fans will say they'll kind of cheer for them, and the other 68% either won't cheer for them, they'll cheer against them, or they don't care. So there's a few things we need to look at. Number one, obviously, is this isn't going to happen for a couple years, and there's not going to be much of an effect on us in the next couple years until that expansion draft, until we get to see who the Canucks protect and who Seattle's going to end up choosing from the Canucks roster. And as an aside, we'll have a lot of time to talk about before then how NHL teams will probably not fall into the same pitfalls and same traps as they did in the Vegas expansion draft, i.e. making these side deals. We don't take this guy because we don't want to protect this guy, but we'll give you this guy instead. You can simply ask the Florida Panthers how that worked out in terms of their dealings with the Vegas Golden Knights. So we can talk about that later. But right now I want to talk about the fan bases. So there's one school of thought that says, well, no, I'm allowed to cheer for more than one team, right? And it'll be cool to have a team that's local that I can also cheer for as well. Many of you know that the Winnipeg Jets are my second favorite team. I think you're allowed to have a second favorite team, but that's the definition of second favorite. The Winnipeg Jets I'm never gonna like them more than I like the Vancouver Canucks. So I'll admit I'm kind of intrigued by the Seattle franchise. I didn't mind the Vegas franchise despite their great success right off the bat. I thought it was exciting that a new team came to the league, and this team will be the newest NHL team, and will be the second closest team to us. And I will admit that I will likely, it helps that I have a nexus, but I'll likely try and get down to a game or two per season, depending on the cost of tickets and exchange rate in 2 years. But I could see myself going with a buddy, or taking my wife Gail or my son Sean. Definitely not Jacob. He doesn't even know who any Vancouver Canucks players are. He certainly won't know who any Seattle players are. But I'll take someone, and I'll likely check out a game or two. So I would put myself in the casually root for them. Of course, I'm not going to root for them more than I root for the Vancouver Canucks, but I'll root for them to do relatively well, just not better than us. Then there's a lot of people that say, no, what are you talking about, Clay? They're going to be a rival right away. They're a geographic rival. They'll be a division rival. But then others will counter that and say, you're not really a rival until you build up a playoff history, right? The Vancouver Canucks and the Chicago Blackhawks have playoff history. The Canucks and the Bruins have playoff history, as old as it may be. The Canucks and the Flames have playoff history. In fact, our most recent playoff series was against the Calgary Flames, and then you can look at the '89 series and a couple series in the 2000s. So that's Calgary. The Calgary Flames are a rival, and they are relatively close. The Boston Bruins and Chicago Blackhawks are rivals, or at least they were because of playoffs. So one argument would be, yes, they are geographic and divisional rivals. They will be. But on the other hand, some people say you're not really a rival until you experience a hard-fought playoff series against them. So for me right now, on July 17, 2019, I admit I'm interested. I won't say I'm a fan of Seattle already. There's nothing to be a fan of, but I will take an active interest in them because of the geographic location, because it's good for the league, right? It rounds it out at 32 teams. Then they got to rely on a couple divisions or whatever it may be. But it's an exciting time for the league. We saw the excitement that took place when Vegas came in. Maybe it'll be the same sort of excitement when Seattle comes in. Of course, some different implications and some different strategy when it comes to the expansion draft. But like I said, we have a lot of time to talk about that. So for me, I think it's obviously a good thing for the league. It'll be a good thing for the Vancouver Canucks. Playoff rivalry or not, it'll be great to have a team that's 2-hour driving distance away, given the border, give and take, right? But a highway rivalry, so to speak. Whether or not that happens in the playoffs or not, that's up to the fans to decide. But I think it's going to be a great thing for the league. I'm very excited for it. And I will admit that I will I will casually cheer for them. I'm not going to say they're going to become my second favorite team right away, but I don't think I'll be rooting against them. I'll only be rooting against them when they play against the Vancouver Canucks. Okay, Canucks fans, let me know what you think. Just a quick one today, but I'd love to know your thoughts. Right now, as it sits, what do you think of the Seattle franchise? Do you anticipate being actively rooting for them, casually rooting for them, cheering against them, or do you actually not care right now? And if you don't care right now, tell me why you don't care. And will you admit that maybe that will change in the next couple of years? We got a lot of time to talk about this, but I think it's cool. It's relevant given the no movements and the limited no movements that are happening, the clauses that are happening in contracts, especially for Canucks players, and of course, the naming of Ron Francis as the first GM in the Seattle franchise history. Leave a comment below. I love to read, react, and reply. As always, subscribe if you like to, like this video if you like to. Enjoy the day. God bless, and go Canucks go.